All right, I have a hot take. I mean, like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But Dame, this is gonna blow some minds as we start the show this week.
Like, will we eventually see you today?
Am I on the screen right now?
No.
No.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
I see me.
You're the only one.
No, I see. No, I'm on the air. I promise. People
in the chat, Dan,
can you see
Sarah,
me?
do you see Peter just a black box?
You haven't been able to see me this whole time in pre-show?
Entire time.
That's why I asked.
Pete, turn the lights on. Wait, no one can see me?
Pete, I don't know how many more different times ways I can say this. There's nothing but you want me to take a picture and Slack it to you so you can see exactly what we're looking
I'm blacked out here?
Blacked out.
Oh, Lord.
What did you think I meant in pre-show when I said I couldn't see?
No one knows. All right, let's try this. How about now?
Hey.
I tried to switch to 1080p, and basically the gods of HD said, don't need to see your pores.
Yeah.
Let's go black. You guys, pickleball is a bubble.
Oh,
Pickleball
okay, yeah.
is in a bubble. And I'm prepared. I've done some research. I have 6 reasons. Make that 5. That sorry, I thought it was 6. It's 5. That pickleball is in a bubble.
Let's number one.
Number one. Hold on.
Number 1.
Rapid growth and hype-driven investment. So we've got celebrities doubling down. LeBron James is involved. Tom Brady is involved. Drew Brees is involved. There's just money is just getting poured in from celebrities, private equity firms. There's professional leagues. There's endorsements everywhere. Hello, Rochelle. It is an absolute overinvestment in the sport itself. That's reason number 1.
Can you imagine standing across a net from LeBron James? You just die at that point, wouldn't you?
But like a pickleball net or just like a fishing, like commercial fishing?
No, pickleball. Stay on topic, Pete.
Well, no, I didn't know if you were like, oh, he loves commercial fishing.
Maybe he does. I don't know, but you just leave with pickleball welts all over your body. I think at that point.
Number 2, and I think this second point, I need your input, especially Kristen, who's more rural, who lives in a more rural community, Kristen or Dame?
I mean, Dame's home is more rural than mine.
Who is a smaller town that they live in?
Kristen.
Me.
Okay. Overbuilding and commercialization of pickleball facilities. Where I live, every day, a giant pickleball facility is opening up. Every day. Kristen, how many pickleball facilities have opened in 2025 in wherever it is you live?
So that's wild because my town of 5,000 people got dedicated pickleball courts last year.
Told you.
Mm-hmm.
Dame?
The city converted some of the tennis courts to pickleball courts.
You guys, I will say, pickleball in some way is an anti-tennis movement. It's just like hair care is an anti-bald movement. We talked about that, Dame.
Yeah, totally. I mean, pickleball is tennis without quite as much cardio.
Yeah. Yeah, it's softer on the knees. Okay. Yes, Reverend Renfro, I have played pickleball, and it is indeed fun. And I'm not trash talking the sport. In fact, I'm not saying it's dumb or people shouldn't play. I'm saying it is a bubble, and the burst is going to be the worst. Number 3, demographic dependency. Its primary base skews over 50 plus, and younger players don't stick with it. And you could see participation rates stagnate to support all of these pickleball commercial facilities. Do you buy that one?
Yeah, maybe. I think that was a little squishy.
Okay. So is that my least
so far?
Kristen?
I disagree because one of the drivers of pickleball in my community is my 89-year-old step-grandpa who plays 3 times a week.
So you disagree with Dame, who disagrees with me, so you agree with me.
I agree with Pete, yeah.
I like that. Number 4, league and tournament saturation, multiple pro leagues, CPA, MLP, APP, and there's just tournaments and media rights, and it's just like, that's a problem.
I can't tell you how hard it is for me to put a fantasy pickleball team together because there's so many leagues and you can't get them to make sure that the stats are all the same.
Kristen, do you buy the argument that there's just the league and tournament saturation's a problem?
I don't know about that one. I think that one's the weakest.
Now, finally, the history of recreational sports fads. You've had similar meteoric rises in which racquetball courts were installed everywhere. And so I feel like this boom is destined for a bust. And that is why I believe pickleball is going to bust. Dame, what do you buy? Argument number 5, history of recreational sports fads.
Pickleball will decline in popularity. I don't know if it will ever not be a part of the potential options for leisurely recreation for those of us.
Well said, Chris.
I don't know. I think because I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I can't argue against you because you're exactly right. But I also
Oh my God, can I clip that? Let's clip
Hold
that.
on. But I'm also trying to check my bias because do I feel like you're right because that's me? That's me as a person. I get really invested in stuff and then I get bored and don't do it again. Are other people as much like that as I am? I don't know.
Again, I'm not anti-pickleball. It's fun. I'm not going to go out of my way to play it, primarily because the sound drives me nuts.
Really?
The sound.
Maybe I might be fully alone there, but it drives me crazy. Like there's voices in my head that get triggered by the.
Yeah, sound doesn't bother me.
It drives me nuts.
I could see pickleball staying really, really popular in certain geographic locations around the country and it waning significantly in other like more moderate climates that experience a real winter, but where it's nice year round, I can see pickleball staying pretty popular.
Rick Swink indicates that I hate the dinks. I am definitely jealous of double income, no kids. All right. It was nuanced. Slow market and economy news week this week.
Sure.
Right?
Mhm.
Sure. Nothing's going on. Nothing to see here. It's the old Frank Drebin standing in front of the exploding firework factory. Nothing to see here. Move along. Go home. That was a Naked Gun movie reference, Kristen.
No.
Did you know there was a movie called Naked Gun, Kristen?
Absolutely not. I did.
Did you know there's a movie called Naked Gun 33 1/3?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So, Dame, we're going to do the entire segment on panic is this show. Panic is expensive. Calm down. And I have a question here. No can be an acceptable answer. Kristen, I know you hate to disagree with me, but you're welcome to disagree with me here. As we start the radio program, and for those that don't know, this is a show within a show within a show, right? It's a stream, which is a podcast recording a radio show. You're like, I've never heard of such thing. It's because it's a terrible idea. That's why. We're like the Russian nesting dolls of broadcasting.
Yeah. Which is the smallest?
Kristen. All right. So I wrote my newspaper column on this week. And part of me thinks at least the first few paragraphs set up the conversation. I've been doing these reads on the miniature podcast. Is it a bad idea as we start the show, we're kind of talking, I'm like, all right, let me set the premise by reading the first four, or is that a bad idea? It feels something. It's either a good idea or a bad idea. What do you think?
Would you announce that that's what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. Kristen, you look skeptical, or you had chili last night.
No, I actually think it's a good idea.
Oh my gosh. Then it's definitely a good idea if Kristen thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I think give it a shot, see how it goes.
Okay. You guys want to do?
I mean, that's what we're here for.
My daughter turned 16 this week.
Hey.
It's great. It's wild. I found myself on her birthday just like at work, flipping through her baby pictures on my phone, just looking at them, just like old man ugly crying in my office.
Yeah.
And then you got the notice for your car insurance premium renewal and you were over that.
You know what we should do? When we do that, we should call my insurance agent on the show.
Live reveal on how much it's going up.
Do you want to do that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we should.
Yes.
Yes.
Could we have an episode called Teenagers Suck? And what I'll do is I will have a series of phone calls of how this all goes. Yes, my daughter will get her driver's license in June because you have to wait 3 months in Indiana to do that. Then the next thing is the car. Guys, this is a good episode, right?
That was going to be my next question was, has there been car discussion?
When she got home from school on her birthday and like there were presents set up on the table or something, it was like, why don't you head on out to the garage? She went out of the garage. There's nothing there. She's like, why? And I was like, just keep me on your feet.
That was cruel.
Mrs. Planner thought it was cruel too. Anyway, let's start the show in 3, 2. Oh, wait.
Alert, alert. It's time for a radio segment.
This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete at petetheplanner.com. And here's what can happen. We can talk about your question on the air and dedicate an entire hour to you. More attention than you ever want. Listen, Dame, Kristen, co-host, hello.
Good day.
Wild week in the market. I don't know how to say it. This is not an evergreen show this week because we're talking about the stock market moving into correction territory. I haven't even looked at Friday at 10 a.m. where it is today. It's ticked back up a hair, but we're still around correction territory, which is the market decreases by 10% of its recent high.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So do we agree on the definition at least?
Yes.
Indeed.
So people freak out every time this happens. I wrote my newspaper column for the IBJ about this week. And so what I'd like to do, because this is the topic of conversation today, more specifically, Dame, you had the idea of like, what is a financial advisor's role during these times? Right? Does that capture what we're doing?
Yeah. In general, I mean, we've talked a lot about what financial advisors do in general, but specifically during these time periods when things are incredibly volatile, there's a lot of emotions wrapped up by you, the client or the individual. How do they earn the money during these time periods? Because I would argue that this is one of the times that they truly earn the money if they are doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna read the first few paragraphs of my column, which gets to the final point here of I'm willing to fully address this conversation today in an apolitical manner because I don't think it matters. I think this is about your money and this isn't about the economic environments around it. And by the way, if you disagree, that's fine too, but I'm interested in problem solving your finances. I'm not interested in a political debate about this. So here are my thoughts, and I think this will tee us up. So even after it's happened, it still feels impossible to have predicted it. Okay, the dot-com crash did feel predictable in the late 90s, but most of the events after that, not so much. No matter what bludgeons the markets and no matter how different and unique the immediate outcome feels as of yet, the outcome isn't ever really that different. The market takes a punch, you either panic or you don't, and then the market recovers on its way to further growth. Whether it was 9/11, the housing market meltdown of 2008, or the COVID market crash, which only lasted 148 days, world events have a way of convincing us that the isolated dynamics of the time will lead to unprecedented market conditions. Yet they don't. I can't believe I feel this way, but this really is both comforting and frustrating. Believe me, I want the market to constantly go up, but there's a weird part of me that wants to be right about how impactful market aggregators might actually be. It's like when you think someone is about to cut you off in traffic and they actually do, and then you're strangely glad that you were right about it. The stock market hates surprises. It yearns for certainty. And if you've paid attention to the market at all over the last couple of weeks. The market doesn't quite know what to do with President Trump's game of tariff Frogger.
Time out.
Kristen, do you know what Frogger is?
I did have Frogger on my Game Boy growing up.
Cars are going to be more expensive. They aren't. They are. And then you lose interest in the story altogether. Is it negotiating genius? Is it the personification of reckless whims? Is it the plotline for Designated Survivor Season 7? Look, I don't know. And I don't waste my time trying to come to a tidy conclusion. And then here's my point. Personally, I don't believe any president of the United States should focus on short-term market fluctuations when working towards long-term economic stability. And I'm going to land there. You guys, yeah, it's been chaotic. And yes, people can be upset of what the president is doing, which is fine. Arguably, I am. But as it relates to your actual money and what you do about it, it has nothing to do with the decisions being made. So, Kristen, give me a time in your adult life when you felt like a market meltdown may have been different and you should have reacted differently. Your natural urge was, oh, this is different. Did you ever have one?
I want to say no, but to be honest with the two of you, COVID did feel a little different only because I couldn't believe the initial, like, everyone stay home for 2 weeks and all of these things. Like, that did feel a little different to me, not necessarily from a market perspective, but globally it was like, oh my goodness, like this could be a really long haul thing.
Dane, what was yours?
2008.
Same.
Yeah. And I think that was almost as much of a function of, having in the office we were in, of course, we had, the TV and the reception area tuned to, Fox Business or whatever it was at the time. And just hearing the people and seeing the red numbers day after day after day just really ground on you. And seeing these people who have been in this career for decades say, like, man, I don't know what's going on. It really felt like, did I choose a really, really bad career or profession to go after? Or is this going to be the end of everything? And it wasn't. It just wasn't.
How often do you think this is super interesting? Because in both of those examples, which Dame and I are on 2008, Kristen COVID, and by the way, I kind of felt that way during that time frame a little bit too. There's two elements. There's the market is correcting or going into bear territory. At least it did in COVID. I guess it did in the Great Recession too. Mm-hmm. But then that's the other point, is that there's economic contraction, and it's that period of time that you fear as much as the market itself. So maybe through that lens, we're in correction territory right now. And so that alone shouldn't spook too many people. That's a thing. Kristen, as you think about where we're at economically right now and where the markets are, if you are at all concerned, is it more about the economic contraction or is it more about the market pullback, or neither?
I fear this might come across as like insensitive or out of touch, but I'm not concerned either way.
Dame?
The economic contraction concerns me more than the stock market pullback, but I think that's largely a function of the age I am. I don't need to worry about what my assets are doing, my investments are doing right now, because I've still got quite a long time before I have to worry about drawing on them. Fast forward 15 years from now, I probably feel a lot worse about the stock market pullback.
I'm doing the math on 15, 20 years from now. I'll say this. I'm definitely more concerned about the economic contraction, but it's more from, I know there's going to be a lot of job loss. Like when I think about economic contraction anymore, I just think about job loss, and I just think about the pain that's inflicted. The other side of that, though, too, is specifically with tariffs, is there's the idea that long term, and again, I buy this. I buy this. Long term, it can reshore jobs. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, what was that the we're saying? Reshore?
Yeah.
Right? Bring them back. Theoretically, that could happen. So there is job loss, there is job gain, but it's the in between where business leaders are forced to make really hard decisions. And this might hopefully be my only quasi-political comment of the time. It's the back and forth of this tariff, and no, 2 hours later the tariff's gone. Like, that's the hard part, because as a business leader, you don't know what to believe, and then that's where the contraction gets scarier for me. So here's what I'd love to do. The rest of the episode is dedicated to how do you inject a financial advisor into this conversation to serve you better? How do they earn keep their fees during these times? That's all next on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. You like the new button?
Time out.
It was surprising. I like it, except I don't get to say granted now. I'm taking it out of the equation. It's now just a Pete thing.
Well, you've got your own soundboard. Why don't you create a granted button?
Okay.
So I can create one for you and send it to you, because I got nothing but time. Kristen, I've known you a very long time. Let's see, of your adult life, I've known you, 16% of your adult life. Is that about right? No, of your life, 16% of your life.
I don't know. I'm not good at quick math.
That's terrible for you. Anyway, I know you don't like quasi-political conversations on the air.
Yes.
How did this hit you though? I'm curious. Like, I tried to for you, honestly. I tried to structure it in a way that it wasn't going to compromise how you feel.
So kind. I thought it was fine. I wasn't worried at all. You've made me far more worried than that.
No, that's true. Damn, we're on the up and up, right?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. So you're so dismissive of, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. It is weird. I find myself, these are my comments, I find myself cutting myself in two on this entire topic. There's the what a person should do, and then how I feel about what's happening. And I have just drawn a line down the middle, and I'm trying not to combine there. And arguably, even if you disagree with how you feel about what's happening, you're kind of doing the same thing, right, Dame or Kristen? Try to draw a line.
Yeah. I mean, feel however you want about it. There's still, I think Kristen's fond of saying good medicine is good medicine, regardless of where it comes from. So regardless of what side of the table you're on, there's better ways to approach situations than others.
Dame and I were talking before the show, Kristen, before you got here. We live in just interesting times when something becomes culturally interesting, whether it's pickleball or something all of a sudden gets in the zeitgeist and everyone's talking about it. And one of the ones that is just so peculiar to me, and I actually don't have an opinion one way or the other, I don't know anything, is the idea that beef tallow is all that people are talking about is wild.
So true. That's so funny.
Are you tempted to go try some fries at Steak and Shake with the switch to beef tallow?
Is that question for me?
Yes.
Yeah, like, again, I don't have a health take on it for sure. I don't know anything. I love food. Look at me. I was curious, given that Kristen's special friend is a beef baron, what is the beef tallow take in the Elanius household?
There is no take. The take is
what?
We don't do anything extra with beef. Like, it goes into the freezer. There's no like keeping the bones for soup or giving them to the dogs or doing this or that. We don't do any of that stuff.
Dame, you flinched. You're uncomfortable.
That's privilege there. Jeez.
What? Keep any of the scraps?
Yeah, you don't do anything. I mean, make bone broth. You don't give the bones to the dogs.
No.
Vegans are freaking out. We've just lost half our vegan listenership. Does Gail still listen to the show? Probably not.
I don't think she. I don't.
Did she ever?
No, well, she was on the show. So, Kristen, if I may, that's surprising to me.
Why?
I don't know. I like your man, I think, or your friend, whatever. I think of him as like he's like making a knife out of a bovine femur. Like I mean, like he just seems tough.
and wallets out of the baseball gloves.
You guys, that would eliminate the possibility of everything that he owns being Milwaukee. He would never make something for himself like that.
I don't know. I just have this image. I met him a couple. Just tough as tough.
Don't do this. It makes, because when I show him random clips from the show at the end of each week, his ego is going to be big. I'll have.
Does he think he's tough?
I don't think so.
Dame thinks Dame is tough. 100%. Dame?
Correct.
I think I'm above average on the toughness scale. I know there are absolutely people that are way, 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 way tougher than me.
I'm not that tough, personally. You know, I'm kind of soft. So there's that.
All right. You guys want to move on with the show?
Sure.
I had a meeting at IBJM podcast, IBJMPN today, this week. I made it very clear as we explore sponsorship opportunities, I will not entertain any hair replacement systems whatsoever.
You're just speaking for yourself, right? I mean, I could.
Do you want
no
a full head of hair?
No.
You know what? I would be willing to do that. That if Dame gets hair.
I have way too much real estate on top of my head that needs plugs to make that happen.
What if we gather just some of the men around here or women in the office and they become your transplant folks? And then we have just like a calico
look. That'd be fun.
Oh, Dan says he wants to see me with bangs. Kristen, how sensitive were you this weekend to the bangs discussion of last week?
My mom texted me and she was like, Pete really had a lot of opinion about your bangs. And I said, yeah, I regret my life. I regret opening my mouth.
Speaking of parents, so relate or don't, is it possible you've ever had a conversation with your parents where they tell you all sorts of really intense details about someone else's life that you knew sometime in life because they found out from that person's parent, and they just tell you things? They're like, so-and-so got in a car accident in Cleveland and they're fine. It was a fender bender, but yeah. I mean, do you ever hear just like random stuff about people's life?
Yes. And it kills me when I'm calling my mom out. She might be listening to the show. It kills me when she does this. She'll be like, you remember they were friends with so-and-so. And I'm like, I don't remember. And she's like, no, you do. You remember they went to school with so-and-so. And I'm like, I just told you I don't remember. And also, does this actually matter to the story?
So Dame, I mean, do you get any of that?
Not to the same degree, but I've had it. Yes.
So I get a lot of that. And what always occurs to me, there's two things, and Mrs. Planner actually brought this up the other day, because we get it from both sides, and it's nice. It's a good conversation, whatever. Is naturally based on the game of telephone, how many of the details are just so wrong, just wildly fake news. And then to take that a step further, the reciprocation of what do people think that has happened to me that really hasn't, because of random stories in the game of telephone.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's why my case exists.
You always bring it back to my case. It's unbelievable. Okay. Show Dame, can you drive this one a little bit? I'll get it started, but just like, I'll start a question and you okay, 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show this week, talking about the chaos that is the stock market right now, and arguably the economy. We'll pump the brakes on that idea for a second, but more importantly, this is the time that a good financial advisor can actually pay for themselves. Mm-hmm. And we are pro financial advisors on this show. Maybe I should speak. Actually, I think I'm speaking for all of us, right? Like, we want you to have a financial advisor if you need a financial advisor, and you're in a situation in your life in which you are ready for a financial advisor. Dame, how do you, maybe start with the negative? How do you know your financial advisor is not serving you well in times like this. Is that fair? Is it just the inverse of all the talking points you've come up with?
No, it could be, but I think one of the biggest indicators is they avoid your phone calls or they avoid communication with you. If you cannot talk to them or you know exactly how they are handling the situation, chances are you aren't getting the service that you deserve through your fees or otherwise, even during when times are good at that point, because they are there to serve and take care of you in this capacity. If they're a fiduciary, they absolutely should be on the phone talking with you. Communication is absolutely crucial during times like these.
Let's dig in on that. Kristen, maybe we're thinking the same thing. What do you got?
Well, I was thinking like, but what does that look like in practice?
Yes.
Like,
so if I call them and I leave a voicemail,
Mhm.
and they don't call me back, that's clearly problematic, right? Is it within a certain time frame? Are we down to that much minutia? Or like help me understand? Like I call them, they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm really worried about the market." They're like, "Oh, you're fine. We'll talk to you next quarter." Like what is it?
I mean, if you want to try and put a 24-hour rule on callbacks, I guess that's up to you. I would also assume that advisors are kind of busy right now fielding these phone calls from other people that are concerned as well. So there may be a bit of delay. If you're used to getting a call back in 24 hours, maybe it takes a little bit longer, or maybe you hear from an assistant before you hear from the advisor just saying, "Hey, we got your message." They're going to give you a phone call in the next day or so. So we got it. We're on it. If it's a phone call, great. If it requires a face-to-face meeting, I would expect them to be able to sit down with you and do that. Zoom, whatever it's going to take to get you to understand how you're positioned, that it's okay to understand the fears that you've got, maybe be able to assuage them somehow. But that communication, knowing that you're being heard, that it's going to be okay, or if there are changes that need to take place, not giant wholesale changes, because if that's the case, then there's another argument against how they maybe aren't taking care of you. But you need to be able to know that you can communicate with your advisor during periods like these. And if you feel like you're just stuck in the corner of a room talking to yourself, that is not good.
Kristen, you live in a professional world that is virtual.
correct.
So when Dame said they should meet you in person if that's what you want, I felt like part of you may have died. Dame, that's an interesting take, and I can't say I disagree with it. And I'm actually trying to work that through in my head of hey, I'm really worried. Hey, it's gonna be okay. I'd like to get together and talk about it. Well, there's no need for that. Like, what does Kristen? How do you think about if you are a financial planner? You, by the way, you are a certified financial planning practitioner. But if you are having individual clients and you're managing money, and someone says to you, "Yes, I know you work at your home, but we're going to need to get together." What do you say?
I would hope that I would have a policy that I could come back to say
I don't do that. Sorry.
I actually don't do that. No, but as Dame was saying that, the thing that I really thought is like, is it reasonable to expect that any client of an advisor can call right now and be like, "I want to meet with you"?
Look, maybe this is going to be I need a generation gap button, possibly. It's just going to be condescending, so I don't want to do that. I'll just talk about it a lot. Dame, I mean, that's in my estimation. If I'm paying an annual fee to a financial advisor, I want some breath mints and a steno pad to write on. Like, I want to be there.
Yeah, 100%. And if maybe relationships look different these days in the financial advising world. In generation, I hadn't really considered that, Pete, but if I was still in practice, I don't think I could say no to anybody unless I was advising somebody in Alaska and they wanted to me to fly up there to talk to them. I don't think so. I think if they want to sit down and talk to you, set the parameters. Say, all right, I've got 30 minutes on Tuesday. Can you be here? Great. See you then.
Let's transition this a little bit, because otherwise we're just debating whether you want to see someone in person or not.
Yeah.
But Dame, as we look at maybe what shouldn't happen during this time frame, what role does trying to make moves with your portfolio during these times, or to transition out of asset types altogether, are there any red flags for that?
If there are huge wholesale changes, that would be a red flag to me. I think you can be smart with some of the moves. I think you're looking at potential tax loss harvesting in non-qualified accounts. I remember tax loss harvesting does not exist in qualified accounts because you are not paying capital gains taxes on those. That's only being taken. You're only paying income tax when you take it out of traditional the 401k or IRA. No capital gains. So this only qualifies for non-qualified accounts. That's a great choice of words. But there's an opportunity to make some strategic moves when the market pulls back to potentially save you on some tax long run, and also maybe to weather the storm a little bit better during this time period as well.
Kristen, I can't help think that you call your advisor, you're freaked out, they've got a portfolio constructed for you that is meant to deal with the good times and the bad, that what they really should be saying in many cases is, hey, we've got some dry powder, we've got some cash, I know you're upset, I know you're kind of freaked out, and maybe politically you're extra freaked out, but we're playing roles here, by the way. I think we should be buying into this market downturn. Isn't that kind of what should be happening?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what should be happening. And to your point, that doesn't mean that it's an easy conversation to have. And if you're someone who's concerned, to say, hey, I know you're concerned that your portfolio has reverted back to 6 months ago, but actually we think now would be a great time to pump some extra cash into this thing that you're feeling concerned about. It doesn't have to be an easy conversation, but it should be a conversation that's happening.
And a lot of times you're going to reevaluate risk tolerance during this time period. The
Mhm.
catch with that is, though, if you go from an aggressive investor to a conservative investor, or maybe even moderate investor, you're going to lock in some of those losses at this point through your reallocation. And it's going to take you even longer to recoup the losses, the paper losses that you've experienced thus far. So that doesn't mean that it's not the right move. It just means there's consequences for making that change and not being where you should have been in the first place.
Kristen, you know what occurs to me here is, let's say you're a conservative investor, you're seeing all of this market news, but you don't have that much exposure because you're a conservative investor, but you are naturally freaked out. Sometimes it's because of, I say education level in the investment sense, not in the global sense, is that you don't have the financial acumen. So you think, oh, I'm losing all this money. But let's say you're down 2% or something. Kristen, I gotta think, even level setting people's risk tolerance and how the market impacts that, to Dame's point's got to be part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And also recognizing the difference between your reality and the global reality, because they don't necessarily have to be the same, to your point about difference in risk tolerance.
Let's do this. Let's calm down. Let's take a break. Dame needs to towel off a bit. I'm going to admit I've had a change of heart on some of this conversation this week. And I want to float an idea by you and see if it holds water or not. You can tell me whether it's good advice, bad advice, or whether I should get out of the business altogether. I'm Pete the Planner for now. Clever. Executive producer of the show at WIBC, Mr. Matt Hiblin, sent me the biggest waste of money of the week this week.
Oh, no.
By the way, when we get there, I'm going to test the jingle, see if people like it. Might be a one-time use
All 3
situation.
minutes of it?
Well, I might do a little something. Uh-oh, getting text. Oh my gosh. Breaking news from Mrs. Planner.
Oh boy.
Should we call her?
No.
Ted Lasso is coming back.
No way. Season 4?
Yes, apparently. Look at Kristen. Hold on. Kristen, don't say anything. Hold on. Let's do this right. Kristen, Ted Lasso's coming back.
Yay.
What? Okay, Kristen, it's the call on the hot seat with Kristen.
Okay.
Kristen, great bangs, by the way. What can you tell me about Ted Lasso?
It's on Netflix.
Do I have a no?
Yeah, you do. No.
That is the beginning and the end of what I know.
Okay. What else do you know?
Literally nothing. I don't think I've ever even
Jiminy
seen a
Christmas.
preview.
You're like a pop culture, like, you don't know any of it. It's weird.
I know none of it. But have you ever considered that maybe just like our outlets of pop culture are different? Because like I feel like I know a lot of pop culture, just not about Ted Lasso.
Okay, ask me something about pop culture that you know that maybe you can trick me up on. I think this is fair. Whatever category.
Okay, so there's a well-known pop star who's about to release a country song.
Oh God.
And it's not expected. Like you wouldn't expect this from this person.
So it's not the person that just released a whole bunch of duets with somebody over the last.
No. It is not Beyonce.
Well-known pop star about to do a country album.
A country song.
It's a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I have no idea.
I don't know. Pay attention. I'm just kidding. I don't listen to pop music. Okay, let me try. Pink Pony Club? What's that person?
It's Chapel, actually. That was a great guess.
See?
Dave doesn't even know who that is. He
I
doesn't
have
even
no
know
idea who
anything
that
about
is.
the Pink
Don't care
Pony.
either.
Just to note, that song was playing in the office the other day,
I love that song.
and everyone was bopping to it. I was like, "What is this Taylor Swift?" And then everyone just started yelling at me,
Oh my.
and I was like, "I founded this company." I didn't say that, but I kind of thought it. But then anyway. I liked the way that segment played out. That went a different direction than I thought, but I really liked it. What do we need to cover here in the third?
What do you do right now if you don't have an advisor and you're like, I probably should have had an advisor?
Okay, that's good. Oh, geez.
Hey, look at that.
The overlords.
Kill the boss. They're watching.
No. I'm so nervous. Oh, boy. Let's, hello, sir or ma'am. Okay.
Alert, alert. It's time for a radio segment.
Back on the Pete the Planner show. Dame and Kristen, for years when there's been market turbulence.
Time out.
Granted.
When a pilot comes on and tells you there's about to be turbulence, do you judge them for the amount and magnitude of the turbulence as to whether they should have alerted you in the first place?
Yeah.
It's just like and you're like, oh, really?
I do a little. It's kind of like seeing the sign that says bump and there's nothing really perceptible there that you go over. Yeah.
Or on a curve, it says 30 miles an hour and I'm hitting it at 65.
Yeah.
Anyway, for years, we've been telling people, like, just don't look. Quit checking your statements. It's fine. I've had a change of heart. And I want to show it off for you. And I want you to tell me, Dame, what was the question you asked before the show? We were talking about.
Does it? Are you having a change of heart on the advice in general, or just for you?
Okay, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll give it, and you tell me what's happening. I've decided to start looking harder than I ever have before during these times. Not so that I'm numb to the emotional realities of the time, but more I can stand behind the decision to do nothing, right? I can go, this is the math. Like, part of me today wanted everyone to pull up their portfolio on the air in person to themselves only and just see where it's fallen in the last, we'll call it 90 days.
Do you want me to do
that? Yeah, I'll do it. Kristen, you want to do it?
I suppose.
Do you know what your high has been in the last 90 days on your total portfolio?
I don't know, but I think it'll tell me.
Okay, so I'm going to pull mine up, and if we probably want to talk in percentages. Okay, so I'm down 7% in the last 30 days. And it's, again, without getting too weird, that's significant.
Hey, mine's minus 7% as well.
Okay. Dame's on the calculator app on his phone.
I was too.
Yeah, I am actually.
Boy,
It's going to be.
this is good radio.
I know. Sorry.
It's my fault, actually.
around 8%.
Okay. Kristen,
Yes.
you are down 7% right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know the dollar sign that comes with that. Okay. So you're down
Right.
7%. Do you feel more justified in not taking action by not knowing you're down 7% or by the fact that you can name it and be okay with it? Because formally, what a lot of people advise is don't ever name it, and then you won't feel like you have to make a change. I'm saying, I know I'm down 7%. I own that, and I'm okay with that because I'm convicted in my beliefs. How do you feel?
That's interesting because I probably would have guessed that I was around 7% just because I know what cash position I currently hold and I know what the market's done in general. So I think by having awareness of the market, I had like adjacent awareness to what my portfolio was doing. So I'm not sure I feel validated in saying it's probably about what I would have guessed, but I don't know that it makes me feel any different.
Dame, you're down 8%.
Mm-hmm.
Are you glad you know that? Or does it or do you feel more convicted in your belief you should do nothing? Or do you wish you didn't know you were down 8% since I forced you to know?
It doesn't bother me that I'm down 8% at this point. I don't think it gives me any more resolve than if I hadn't done the math very slowly on my phone for everybody. But is it one more bit of data? I guess. I don't think I'm going to start getting indigestion until significantly greater losses or paper losses start to trickle in there.
So this is about to get weird, and I pre-apologize, and you can opt out. In your head alone, convert to dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Same question. Kristen, knowing the dollars you're down right now, do you feel differently than the percentages?
Absolutely not.
Dame?
Nope.
I don't either, but it's easier to take that dollar amount and weigh it against a consumer purchase or weigh it against something of equal value and then to go, oh, man, pal, one of those,
That comes back to my point earlier is that I wasn't going to be using these dollars anytime soon anyway. So, the fact that I can't go out and buy X, Y, or Z doesn't really impact me that much because I still have the track record of the stock market over the last whoever knows how many years that it's going to recover over the next 15 before I have to start digging into it.
We talked earlier in the show, all the different elements that may have spooked us in the last 20 years. While economically it's very disruptive right now, in terms of the market itself, I literally have zero long-term concern about what's going on right now.
Can I make a confession?
Sure.
I've paid very little attention to what the market's done over the last week.
Same.
Very little.
Very little.
I want to try to be truthful, but so I'm going to say a phrase, and I might be not representing the truth. The reason I've looked is in relation to the tariff frogger. That's what, because I'm just like, okay, well, what's this going to do? But maybe I wouldn't have looked because I'm not looking in terms of the presidency itself. I think that's silly. I've always thought that's silly. Yeah, interesting. All right, so let's go here. Dame, a person right now, we're in a correction. They don't have a financial advisor and they're getting an itchy trigger finger and they are thinking about they need to reallocate not cash into equities, which is arguably a good idea, but they want to get out of the market. Should they go get a financial advisor right now?
I think it'd be in your very best interest to go and get an unbiased third party's answer for this sort of question, because maybe you could stand to take a little bit of risk off the table, but getting out entirely is such a dangerous game because then the question becomes, when do you get back in? And if you can't emotionally have those hard lines of, okay, I'm getting out, but I'm getting back in now, or at this point, you're setting yourself up for an even bigger problem than just riding this out.
Kristen, what do you think? If you're feeling a little itchy right now, is this the best time to actually contact a financial advisor for the first time?
I do. I think it is. And then if you're someone who's not had an advisor in the past for whatever reasons that you've used as justification, I would encourage someone, and my advice to someone who's feeling wary about it right now is document exactly how you feel. Whether you write it out on a Google Doc or write it down on a piece of paper, like exactly how much upset this is causing you or lost sleep or whatever it is, so that when things are good again, you can go back to that and be like, oh, wait, when things are not great, I don't handle this all that well. You have to know that version of yourself. And it's way too hard to see that during good times.
And then you take that document and you fax it to your financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe.
Chris, I'm listening to this really good guidance that you're giving here right now. And it's hard, Dame, for me to not hear her and think, that's just actually good life advice. Like when
Yeah.
when a relationship's not going well, or like when work's not going well, like it's a perspective thing. And I think that's really compelling guidance, Kristen. Dame, the one thing that scares me with 45 seconds left in the segment is you don't have a financial advisor. You go to talk to 2 or 3 and they disagree with each other. And it's the person that can stoke the most emotion in you that can get you to take really bad action. I know this is leading the witness here, but Dame, my hope is if you go talk to a financial advisor, they try to calm you down, not gas you up, right?
Sure. They can try and manipulate you on either side of that equation. So, I mean, if you've got somebody else can be level-headed in that conversation, maybe bring them along with you.
Coming up after the break, it's more of the show. Blom and News. I'm Pete the Planner. This is a Pete the Planner show. Did you see that brain fart?
Yeah, so many annuities being sold right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of annuities being sold right now. I was going to say, can we say that? Of course we can say it. We say whatever we want. I think we can say that good or bad, right? We can say good or bad. There are a lot of annuities being sold right now.
Mm-hmm.
So annuities, for those that don't know, are an insurance product. They're issued by insurance companies, and they can act as an investment where there are guarantees often associated with annuities, and those guarantees are issued or held by the insurance company. So that's to say, you put in $100,000, the insurance company says some percentage of that, if not that whole thing, we guarantee you'll always have that money. And there are so many different variations of those types of annuities, whether they be fixed or what are called index annuities or variable annuities. They get incredibly complicated, have all sorts of fee structures, have all sorts of surrender charges and restrictions and rules that the upside during periods like this is often highlighted, and the complexity is often obfuscated.
Yeah, it's super easy to talk to somebody who's absolutely terrified about what's going to happen to their money, about saying, I can protect it. I already have something that I think would be perfect for you, and it'll guarantee you a certain amount of income for the rest of your life. That's a conversation a lot of people want to hear. They want to have, whether or not the pros and the cons are adequately discussed on that, or how another method might be able to serve them even a little bit better.
All right, so I was messing around with AI this week, and I don't mean Allen Iverson. Kristen, do you know who Allen? Hold on. Does Kristen know stuff? Hold on. Kristen,
What?
do you know who Allen Iverson is?
I don't think that I do.
But what could you tell me about any Allen Iverson? What comes to mind?
I have no context. I seriously, I have no idea, Pete.
Dame, here's my challenge here. So you and I are old.
Yeah.
So when I was not old and my dad was old and he'd be like, Dick Van Dyke, I knew who Dick Van Dyke was, right?
Yeah, sure, of course.
And who Bob Cousy was. I just knew the people my dad knew But that's no longer a thing. Is it because there's so much else to know on the internet
Yes.
that Kristen knows all of these things and doesn't know any of the old things?
It's possible. So here's a very similar question. I think our generation has a greater appreciation for the rock and roll of the 60s and 70s than Kristen's generation will have over the rock and roll over the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Because we were more
Wow, I don't
familiar-
know if I agree with that. That's interesting. I don't know if I agree.
I disagree with that because so many who didn't grow up on like dad rock?
Oh, let's not use pejoratives here.
That's literally
Dad
like,
rock. What is dad
Yeah.
rock? Excuse me. What I don't.
80s hair bands.
Oh, now it's back to hair. Dame, this is going off. This is really.
Do you have
rough.
that HR number I can use after this year?
Okay, so I tried to create an AI jingle for not Allen Iverson, for Guam this week, and in my process, I actually accidentally created a song that's too long, but it's still interesting. So I thought I'd at least give it 30, 45 seconds of spin here. Kristen, spin is a reference to a record spinning around.
I have a record player in my house.
Oh, you're such a hipster. Where's your Carhartt beanie? Go put it on.
Oh, I have one of those too.
See, look at me.
Okay, but that's different. I do outdoor stuff.
I would if my skin wasn't so fair. So I'm going to play this song for you. It might be the last time. This is the biggest waste of money jingle brought to you by Allen Iverson.
Oh, we can't hear
We
that.
can't hear it.
You can't?
No. Still nothing.
You can't hear it?
No.
Which, for those of you listening,
It's
be for the best.
Boy, that... I know I can generally be a disappointing party. But that was very real. How do you...
we should have just been really quiet and let him play it
Let
as
it
long as you just let him get it out of his system. Like, man, that was great.
That was fabulous. Now we never have to hear it again.
How often do you think our coworkers have that same sentiment, Dame, of just let him get it out of his system? I feel like frequently.
Every day.
Every stinking day.
They just let him go through it. He'll be on to something else by this afternoon. You'll never have to hear about it again.
Okay. Guam. Okay. I'm looking around like it's my first show. No, it's good. It's good radio this way. And 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner Show, is the Reef AL Arancio Lamborghini stroller. By combining Silver Cross's unprecedented authority and nursery innovation with the iconic intricacies of Lamborghini, a super stroller is born. With high performance fabrics, faceted framework, and a flash of Arancio orange, Reef AL Arancio is one exceptional package. Okay. Kristen and Dane, this is a Lamborghini stroller. Not a limited edition in the sense that there's like 100 made, nothing like that. Actually, that being said, maybe there's only 500. Only 500 of the exclusive strollers are available globally, each identifying with a 1 of 500 plaque integrated onto the footplate. Okay. Kristen, I was going to say you could push your pooches around in this if you wanted to.
That would be so cute.
It wouldn't. How much for the Lamborghini stroller?
The Lamborghini stroller is $3,300.
Dame?
First of all, I'm going to commend you on your pronunciation of the color. That was really, really close to how it's actually pronounced.
Thank you.
I'll go with $1,500.
Kristen wins $5,500 for Lamborghini stroller. Dame, what's in the news this week?
As part of the great wealth transfer, more than $100 trillion is projected to change hands in the coming decades. A recent report from Cerulli Associates puts the total tally being passed to family members by 2048 at an estimated $124 trillion. Whether husbands are leaving money to their wives or couples are passing a nest egg down to their children, quote, women will receive most of it, said Kay Hope, research analyst at Bank of America Global Research. Roughly $54 trillion will go to surviving spouses, a shift also referred to as the horizontal wealth transfer. Among this group, 95% are women, according to Bank of America Institute's recent Women in Wealth report. Another $47 trillion is expected to be passed down to women in younger generations as inherited wealth. Quote, the result? Women will soon control more money than ever before, the report said. Okay, here we go. By this year, roughly 2/3 of the private wealth in the U.S. will be held by women. By this year, fill in the blank. This is the guessing portion. Roughly 2/3 of the private wealth in the U.S. will be held by women.
I'm a little distracted. I kept thinking of the song, Who Runs the World? Girls. Who runs the world? Girls. Kristen, what do you think?
Do we know what is the percent now? Did you tell us that?
I didn't.
Okay, well, that's not super helpful.
2037 for me. 2037.
I'm taking the over.
2030.
Whoa.
That's like tomorrow.
Well, it's just like if Elon Musk dies, then it's split amongst his
18
baby mamas.
Yeah, funny. Be the largest wealth transfer by gender in history, according to a separate research report by McKinsey.
Wow, 2030.
I know. Shocking.
You seem disappointed.
No, no, honestly, the thought that crossed my mind in that, if you are a woman that is at all interested in financial advising, now is the absolute time to get in, to be able to consult and advise other women in this, because they love females love to seek out female advisors, and you see that played out all across the country.
Yeah, that's interesting. My mind's blown. Sometimes these stats I don't believe. Kristen, do you believe this stat?
I don't know. It seems I'm wrong about guesses a lot, though, so it's just another one to add to the list for me.
Well, people, they be dying, so money's got to go somewhere.
Dane, what else is in the news this week?
Don't you hate it when you lose your keys? That sounds like what was it, 60 Minutes? That was who was it? Andy
Rooney. Don't you hate it when you lose your keys?
Yeah, exactly. Do you know who Andy Rooney is, Kristen?
No,
of course not. The U.S. Marshal Service can totally relate. Apparently, the USMS can't account for billions of dollars in cryptocurrencies seized during criminal investigations. Marshals, they're just like us. The biggest chunk of change in the USMS coffers is the 69,370 bitcoins confiscated from the closure of the infamous dark web marketplace Silk Road back in 2013, worth roughly $5.7 billion at today's prices. The USMS can't seem to figure out how much of this hoard it holds, because it primarily manages this and other multitudes of crypto assets via a single Excel spreadsheet.
I knew that was coming.
Which is a fine way to budget for your shopping addiction, but probably not the best method in this particular case.
Kristen, I watch a lot of crime thrillers, a lot of cop dramas.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, the storyline calls for someone to pocket some drug cash, or, maybe take a little off the top. How often do you think these marshals are maybe taking a flash drive and just popping it in the old Levi's 5-pocket jeans?
I don't know. It makes me wonder. No wonder Bitcoin. I mean, how many people have lost their keys and they can't access it? There's just a natural floor because people can't sell it.
Dame, I gotta be honest. The crypto I do own, I'm constantly nervous about that.
Really?
I walk around nervous that I'm somehow going to mess it up.
How would you mess it up?
Because I'm an idiot. We've known each other. I'm a dumb boy.
There's not a lot you can do. You just sit there and it either goes up or goes down, and
No. But like, when I go to liquidate it, that I'm not going to have like the QR code,
Yeah.
or whatever you use to get rid of it. See, I told you, I'm screwed. What else is in the news?
I suppose it could be an issue for you. Oh goodness, that's not the story I wanted to read at all.
I love it.
It's wonderful. Americans are stopping for gas, but they aren't grabbing their usual snacks or smokes. This change in behavior is hurting the U.S. sales of Doritos, Twinkies, Heath bars, and Newports. U.S. convenience store sales volume fell by 4.3% as prices rose in the year in February 23rd, according to market research firm Circana. Time out. Thank you.
Time out.
Year ending February 23rd? Who does that?
Wait, someone has a fiscal year ending February 23rd?
The quote was, U.S. convenience store sales volume fell by 4.3% as prices rose, and the year ended February 23rd, according to market research firm Circana. Who does that?
I like that. I'm going to try to do some creative accounting with our board of directors. I'll be like, through January 17th, year ending, we had a great year.
Snacks among snacks purchased in those stores, rice cakes dropped most sharply again. Rice cakes? Who considers rice cake a snack?
All right.
A rice cake at a gas station.
Kristen, I think you're a big car snacks person. I just get the feeling. Is this true?
Not really, no.
I was wrong. Dame, can I tell you that when you and I traveled to Phoenix together, you introduced me to a snack that I really had never had before. And now I'm not a big car snack person either, but if I do have a car snack, I have what you introduced me to.
Are you telling me you've never had peanut butter M&Ms before that?
Yes, that's correct.
What? And
I'm a huge PB boy, but I hadn't. And so we went on the trip and you were like, these are good. And I had some, I was like, oh my gosh. But I don't eat a lot of candy, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. For some reason, I thought you were familiar with them. And this was not a new experience, but I'm touched that I got to introduce you to some culinary delight that you weren't familiar with.
The next time I'm meeting people in like a networking event and there's an icebreaker and you have to give a fun fact, I'm going to give that. I had not had a M&M peanut butter M&M prior to meeting Damian Dunn.
You know what? If that's how I'm remembered forever, then I'm fine with that.
Fantastic. So, bottom line, don't panic. The market will eventually be fine. The planet, I don't know. I'm just kidding. I was just trying to get people upset. Sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner Show. Well, that was dandy. It was a dandy.
I thought it was. It was all right.
I was good. I'm just upset I couldn't get my sound to play. I'm just keep failing. I don't know what to do.
You never know. It's just the podcast people you disappointed.
That's fair. Kristen, big plans this weekend?
Full weekend. Yeah. We're going tomorrow to what?
No, I was just like, yes. Okay, moving on. Dame, and you?
Not this weekend. Next weekend is Swim State next weekend, which, by the way, we need to talk about schedule for recording next week.
Oh, high maintenance. Here's a choice. My wife is a person. My daughter's birthday party is tomorrow night, just having family over, and we always get barbecue. And you get classic barbecue restaurant options. You get 2 meats, whatever, for a party. So I'm curious, what 2 meats are you choosing? At a barbecue party, what are your selections that you're choosing of the regular fare?
So are you talking like hot dogs, hamburgers?
No, barbecue, like actual
barbecue,
smoked meats.
Okay.
Yeah, not cookout.
Kristen?
Pulled pork and brisket.
Okay,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. But anymore, you can do pulled chicken, you can do sliced turkey, you can do links, and it's just like it's sort of hard to get away from the classics, know.
Shouldn't it be her decision?
It was her decision.
Okay,
that was her decision. But anyway, this podcast is so good. All right, that's all I got. Hey everybody, good luck with your lives. Stay getting money.